Hey, it's Kat, and I have a really cool card. I love rainbows, and they're so fun to make. So I'm going to show you how you can use distressed oxide inks and a stencil to create this effect. So I'm putting a little adhesive on the back of my base of my cardstock, and then I'm sticking it down to my all-purpose mat. And then I'm using washi tape to hold down my stencil. And the nice thing is once you've made one of these cards, you can actually make multiple at the same time. So I'm using distressed oxide inks. This is Candied Apple, and I'm using a blender brush to apply the ink. And it's okay to overlap the colors a little because it does create even more colors of the rainbow as you go. So I'm just kind of applying that there, and then I'm switching for this one, it's carved pumpkin. And again, I'm using a different blender brush for each one. You can also use the sponges and the little dauber brush or daubers to apply. I just kind of like using the brushes when I'm doing intricate work. The next color I'm going to do is Fossilized amber for the yellow. And again, I'm overlapping just a tiny bit, but mostly just adding the bold colors. And as you know, with distressed oxide inks, you want to give it a little bit of time to dry before you layer things on top. Otherwise, it could smudge because it does take a little longer to dry. And then I'm using Mowed Lawn for my green. And again, just applying that on there. And then you can wash the brushes after you've used them, and then reuse them for other colors, and it does not keep the pigment. And then for the blue, it's Blueprint Sketch is the blue, which is a pretty royal blue. And if you notice the little plastic piece on the tip of this one, I do try and use the same colors. I try and mark them to be used for specific colors. However, sometimes I need more than what I have, and so I'll switch them around. But again, after I use them, I will wash them, and they'll be nice and clean and ready for the next one. And the last one I'm using is Wilted Violet for my purple, and applying that. And as I stated before, you don't have to wash your stencil between if you're doing the same same base again. You could reuse it, or if you're changing the colors, obviously you'll want to wash it just so you don't blend in the colors, or that might be the look you're going for. So I'm going to peel this back, and there we go. I have a beautiful radiant rainbow. And so I will trim this down. I'm pulling it off my mat. And so I did trim this down to basically 4 4¼ by 5½ and I'm just going to attach that just to my card base. So I'm not leaving room for a mat for this one. I'm going to just attach it right on there. So this is going to be a bright white with the colors really popping on that. I'm keeping it pretty simple, and I used this die cut to cut out the hello, and I'm going to just adhere that on, and pretty much your card is complete. So again, I'm using glitter art glue. Sometimes it's a fine tip, so it does get a little stuck sometimes. I do try and keep a needle in there just to keep that opening clear. But the nice thing about this glue is it dries pretty fast, and I can use the fine tip to apply to these thin pieces of the letter. So using tweezers is usually the best way to put this down, but you can also just use your fingers. And I'm going to kind of put it where I want it. And then I'm just going to put it down. And there we go, all set. I hope you enjoyed it.